Would you like a cup of coffee, John?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hello, YouTube friends. John's come to visit me today. John's my son.
Hello.
And he is making one of the things that's going in the Christmas boxes. I just pour him a cup of coffee. There you go, love. Because it's quite early in the morning.
It is.
And, well, that's you start work early, don't you? There you go. And John is making... Okay, tell us what you're making, John.
Well, Mother wanted something to go in the Christmas boxes, which was a local wooden crafted thing made by me. And I've made a few things before for Mother in the channel. And I like doing it because it's different to the normal work that I do. So it gives me a chance to design something that is totally different from what we normally make, and is can use the local timber that we have quite a lot of stored up at the workshop. So in the past, what did I make? I made soap dishes.
Yeah.
I did something else, didn't I? I made those boxes.
Beautiful boxes.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And this year we wanted to make something that lots of people could have the chance to get.
Yeah.
But also showed a tiny little bit of Northumberland, and that people could see a tiny little thing of something that's grown here.
But also exquisitely made. Now, every year I put a pair of these hand-dipped beeswax candles from Moreland Candles into the boxes. And this year I went over to the candle workshop and I picked up this year's load of candles. Now, John.
Well, what I thought was to make a holder so that these candles could, rather than you guys having to find somewhere to like stab them on, or like a little ledge to
Dripping
balance them
and
on,
everything.
that to make a candle holder that would fit these, but then also when these had burned up, that you could use them for other candles, like, there's little tea lights.
Yeah, so they fit the tea light, don't they?
Yeah, so I wanted to make something using, you always see wood and anything made of wood using the cross grain, so the normal grain of wood, which is that part there. But I wanted to do something with end grain, which is, if you look at a cut tree, the round of a tree where you see all the rings, that's what we call the end grain. So this is the design I came up with, and it's a triangle made of 3 other triangles, which are in 3 different timbers, and all those timbers are those 3 different species of timber are all local to the trees grew locally to here, and the whole process was done locally to here. So the 3 species that I've chosen are, this one is English ash, this one's English oak, and then this one is sycamore.
Wow.
So when they're oiled up, which these
process.
Yeah, these haven't been oiled yet, so this is unfinished timber. They'll then all the colours shine out, and they'll be slightly contrastingly different, but they'll all be you get to see a little bit of each different timber, and then there's the right size hole going to go in there, so that then the candle can sit in here. Wow.
So you came up with this idea to use these local hardwoods, and really John and I have met together a few times over this project, and I was thinking just make a really nice square out of an English hardwood, but not a bit of it. We've got a really engineered piece of wood here, and so this is it in its raw state, and John's just brought these across this morning for me to... I saw the prototype, and now these are the actual pieces, and I think Anna's going to get the camera and do some film of you making these.
Yeah, so you can see a little bit of the processes of making.
Okay, so we don't really need to. Well, we'll say a little bit about how you make them, but then you'll see right now, coming up in this video right now, you'll see that the film of these being made in the workshop.
You will.
And then I guess what needs to be done after that is they need to be oiled.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work to oil them all. And
sanded,
yeah. So
dusted off, oiled, the hole drilled, oiled, and then left to dry, and then finally I'm deciding how I'm going to wrap them up.
Yeah, okay.
To put them in the boxes so that they look really pretty.
I'll leave that to her.
Yeah, I do the pretty bit, but I think these are pretty. So, of course, you're not making these in little triangles and sticking them together. So,
well, I make a very long. So I make 3 long lengths of, 1 long length of ash, 1 long length of sycamore, 1 long length of oak, and then glue those long lengths together, and then cut the long length up into lots of slices.
And so we have a chocolate bar. You may know of Toblerone, but I've always been thinking of these as slices of Toblerone. So in effect, you're making one big long Toblerone and cutting it into pieces.
A very, very long one.
How many pieces can you get out of one of your Toblerones?
About 30.
Okay.
But I brought these ones today because this is to do a little bit of quality control with Mother, just to check that there's 1 or 2 where, say, there's a
like that, for instance.
Where there's a bit of crack, because the timber's all different and all natural, and you see that bit of a crack there, and it's like, okay, well, that's probably too big a crack. So.
I could have that one.
Well, then Mother can have that, yeah.
Because I like one for me.
Yeah.
And so John brought over a sample of what they look like, and it's over on my desk, and it didn't have a hole in for the candle. It was just to see, am I going in the right direction? And I've been using it on my desk as a coaster. I put my cup of tea on it.
You could do that.
So I use it as a coaster.
Yeah.
And so I think it's got many uses once it's fulfilled its candle use.
Yeah.
I think they're awesome. I really do. So.
Hello. So we're in the workshop, and I'm machining up these pieces for the candle holders that I was telling you about. And so rather than lots of seamless little tiny pieces, you can now see each of the timber in its sort of board form. So this is the English ash. It's got like the 2 different tones. It's got the darker heart and then the lighter sapwood, and you'll see that when it gets oiled up much clearer. And then this is English oak, which is like the famous, everyone loves. It's the sort of timber that everyone knows about. And it gets some of these nicely figured pippy berry bits on it. And then this is a third one I chose, which is sycamore, and it's a bit like, it's in the same family as maple. And it's got a lighter grain, and it's kind of, when it gets oiled at the end, you'll see it's like a kind of creamy golden brown. So the 3 work quite well together. So what my plan is now is that I need to turn these blanks into this first triangle. And then when I've got 3 triangles like this, I can glue it up into the second triangle. So I've made quite a, it took a bit of head scratching, but I've made a like a jig on the. A jig is something that we call where you can sort of mass produce a component, and I've made one to go on the saw which can cut that angle, the 30-degree angle that I need on there, and it takes a little bit of setting up, so I'm just going to do that now.
I'm here in John and Anna's shed. I've come this afternoon because Anna's asked if I'll come and help to do this next part of the making of these beautiful candle holders that John's made. And so I don't know this yet, so I'll ask Anna, have they seen the making of these?
Yes, I believe so.
So you've been to the workshop and John's made these?
Yeah.
And this is the first batch of these beautiful candle holders. I'm absolutely thrilled with them. I'm really pleased. So what we're doing today is, with our protective gloves on, we've got this stuff, which is finishing oil. I'll put it there so we can both reach it. And we're going to lightly oil these today. And John's given us some little tiny slips of wood so that we can stand them inside the hole here. Are we going to oil in there as well though, aren't we?
Yeah.
And then the whole thing will dry beautifully and we'll put them over there on a board that he's put ready. So we're doing my favourite thing, a production line.
Yes, mine too.
And Anna's just wiping any residual sawdust off them. And as soon as you start to apply this finishing oil, the colours of the wood just leap out at you. 3 different sorts of wood. It's absolutely, oh, what a joy. This is going to be a lovely afternoon. I'm looking forward to it.
I thought you'd enjoy it.
And doing the middly bits as well, so that where the 3 come together, oh, it's lovely.
Yeah,
So-
Johnny often gets me to do the oiling of things.
Yeah,
I always really
but
like it.
probably not in your shed, eh?
Sometimes.
Sometimes in the shed.
Yeah.
Because it's a useful, well-ventilated place. I mean, when I say well-ventilated, the door's wide open.
Yeah.
So that's about as well ventilated as you can get. And we have now begun the process of oiling these. And I've got a plan, Anna, when these are all oiled and dried,
Yeah.
to wrap them. I've got some tissue paper I'm going to try out. And I'm going to wrap these in tissue paper. So when you get these in your box, it'll be the tissue paper, white and gold tissue paper wrapped item. I mean, it'll also be triangular, so I think you'll be able to spot it. But look, there it is. And so now I'm guessing I pop that on there like that.
Yep.
And then once we've got a few, we'll put them over there.
Yeah.
Ah, what a lovely day. Because it's actually not a brilliantly nice day outside.
I was going to say, yeah, it's not a great
but
day, is
it's,
it?
and so Anna's, she's tidied up the shed, haven't you?
I have, because it was incredibly messy and cobwebby. And I was just working before and I suddenly thought, oh no, I'm filming in the shed.
We don't want this. We don't want it to look like this.
So it's had a very quick makeover.
Okay, well, it's lovely. We've got some candles as well.
Yeah.
And some plants. It's lovely. So this is your garden shed where you
Yeah.
store your tools and stuff.
Yeah, I quite like it to become like a more kind of Pinteresty potting shed type shed though. So that's my plan, my grand plan.
Pinterest has a lot to answer for.
It really does. But Johnny, because you know we're getting, oh lovely.
Oh.
You know how we're getting a greenhouse soon.
Let me just get that focused. Yes, greenhouse soon.
Johnny, I think Johnny feels like I'm just commandeering the whole garden because I was like, and then we'll do this
And
and
then
we'll make it really
and
pretty.
then we'll make this potting shed into a Pinterest potting shed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll look out on your boards, Anna.
Yes.
So, are we just going to put them here for now and then move them all over in a minute?
Yeah, it'll save us kind of.
Save us
Yeah.
leaping up and down, won't it?
So Johnny said to be careful to get the right balance. It doesn't want to be too thick. You want to have enough on it.
Yeah. And so a really thin coating.
Yeah.
And I guess that the people who receive these, if they wanted to oil them again, they could, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you would just use. I'll ask John about this, but maybe
Yeah.
just some vegetable oil. Would that even work?
There's
Or would
certain
you say
oils
not?
that I think it's a bit like that bit in the video that the dish and the spoon video Rachel talked about oiling.
She did. She
Different
used
oils,
linseed.
Yeah.
She used linseed oil
But
and beeswax melted together. That's what she uses.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's specific ones to use.
All right then. Well, before we stick our necks out and say just slap a bit of olive oil on it, we'll just check with the master.
Yes, definitely. But these should be fine with the coating that we're giving them, because we're being very thorough.
I think so. Oh yes, that's true. But
over time, you mean?
oh, that's what I was. I can't do two things at once, and I couldn't get my little chalk inside there. It wasn't aiming in. Oh, I love them.
Yeah.
And then again, everyone's slightly different, and that's just the joy of a handmade item, isn't it?
A few years ago was when my nephew was really little. Johnny made him wooden blocks for Christmas and a beautiful box for them to go in. It was such a lovely present.
Yeah.
And I did all the oiling, and it was so nice.
Yeah.
Just sat at the table.
That's a nice gift. Little wooden blocks.
Yeah, it was. Well, that was the year when we just absolutely smashed it with Christmas presents. It was so good.
Well, you always do. You're a very thoughtful Christmas presenter.
But that year was like, wow. We were like
on it.
desperate to give presents to people.
Oh, that was nice. That's nice. Well, these presents here will be winging their way to people on Sunday.
That's a good little segue. Like a BBC level.
Like a continuity announcer.
Yeah, like those people during the funeral, the Queen's funeral, who were having to speak for so long. You know, like the what's she called? Kirsty Young. And people, and they've got to just keep going, don't they, for like 3 hours.
How on earth did that remind you of that?
Just because you did a little good segue. Good job, this.
It is, isn't it? And much more fun when you're not doing it on your own.
Yeah, totally.
So John's come, and it's the end of this process now, and all the little stages that you've just seen in that video that's just gone have resulted in these now.
They're all finished.
So tell us a little bit about the experience from your point of view.
Well, it's been really fun. I mean, coming up with the original design and then choosing the different timbers and finding ones that got interesting grain so that everyone who gets a box can see something a little bit interesting on the graining.
It's gorgeous. I love all this grain because I did a little bit of oiling with Anna, and that's when the grain really pops
comes
out when you see it there.
Yeah.
So Anna and I have wrapped them in the golden starry tissue paper today with the dot on. So that's the first time you're seeing them all wrapped over there. But I've kept a few back because I wanted to talk to you about them.
Yeah.
I just really love how unique and individual each one is. And so, for instance, when these three colours come together, but then there's lovely little bits like this in the side. Talk about that there. What's going on?
This is where there's there's been when the tree originally grew, there was a little defect in it.
Okay.
And then, say if you were making like a super fancy dining table or something, you would have to reject that part. But because we want to capture all the individual aspects of
and
the
accentuate
tree,
that
I mean those are the good things. I
think so too.
So that means, you see on that one there, it's got one colour and then another colour on the oak there. you see it's got the
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the one I put out for me to keep.
Well, there's a load more like that.
Okay.
And then this one is the same thing, but it had a bit of a crack through it there, which has been over time that just happens in the tree. So you get a few like that.
So there's like their individual signature.
Yeah, exactly.
And
each
so
one's different.
There it is with the candle in, and these candles come in pairs like this. So I've just cut this one off its pair, and the candles as well are unique. So these are unique, and so are the candles, and they'll all be ever so slightly different diameters at the bottom. So some of them will fit straight in, and some of them might need a little tiny bit of coaxing. This one did, and I think that's fine as well because the candles are a handmade item.
Because we chose the size of the holes so that you can put one of these tea lights in, which everyone's,
You're familiar with those.
All over the world, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because once these ones burn out, it means then you can carry on using them, but with the tea light in.
Yeah.
So they fit the tea light perfectly, but there might be some of these that are a bit, ones that are a bit, they're just different sizes, aren't they? So,
yes, because of the handmade nature. So I just teased mine in. I'm sure you'll be able to manage to do that. But I love them. I really, really love them. I think they're gorgeous.
It's wax too, right? So you can always shave a little bit. If you need
that's true. Yes, of course. You can, you could do that. It'll fit a treat. So this is the end of this particular project, and I couldn't be more pleased. I really couldn't. So thanks so much, John.
Oh no, it's been fun. I always like getting some Northumberland timber to go out
into the world.
All around the world. I think it's great.
Well, so that's our video for tonight then, and tomorrow night. Oh yes, I know what's coming tomorrow night. A little bit of Martha's work in tomorrow night.
Nice.
Yeah, a bit more of Anna's.
Family affair.
So it is actually. That's what I'm loving about this is that every member of the family has had something to do with it. Actually, every single member of the family. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for coming, John. Oh, and it wouldn't be a John video without a little bit of that. But now I have short hair. You can
it's looking good, isn't it? It looks smart.
So we'll see you tomorrow night with another video. And thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Take care now. Bye bye.